Good afternoon. Well, I don't know how many of you thought things were going to get better with Obamacare, and I talked a little bit about this yesterday, and Ron asked me to touch on it again today, but they're not going to get any better. They're actually going to get much more expensive. We were told that we were going to see a decrease in health insurance costs. In actuality, this year we saw health insurance costs go up 13%, while actual health care costs went up 8%. The reason for that was the new federal mandates that insurance companies are required to cover. Things like breastfeeding classes, domestic abuse classes, the morning after pill, all of this is now dumped into health insurance, and all of this is going to cost all of us money as we move down the road. So the question is, what can you do? Well, let me separate some facts from fiction to start with. A lot of people think that if they buy a group health insurance policy, that may be a lot cheaper way for them to go. The reality is, between now and 2014, buying an individual health insurance policy may in fact cost you a lot less than buying a group health insurance policy. Let me explain why. Group health insurance is guaranteed issue in this country from 0 to 99, from 0 to 100 actually. So if you apply for a group health insurance policy and you've got 10 people on the plan and 4 of them have got medical issues, they're guaranteed to be accepted. If you buy an individual health insurance policy, we are still under what's called adverse selection. That means if you're a type 2 diabetic, if you're a type 1 diabetic, if you've got major health issues, they can reject you. The carrier cannot take you. Or if you've got blood pressure, asthma, whatever the case may be, they can rider that condition or they can raise the rate to cover you. What that does is it drops the cost of individual health insurance versus group health insurance by about 35 to 40%. So if you buy an individual health insurance policy and you can qualify, you may find that that makes a lot more sense than being on a group health insurance policy. You may also find, if you're chronologically challenged, like I am, and you're 50 years or older, you may find that buying an HSA policy, health savings account, makes an awful lot of sense in terms of cost and in terms of what you can do with it. Let me explain HSAs for just a quick second. HSA policies work like this. Nothing is covered up to the deductible with the exception of your wellness benefits. So mammograms, pap smears, checkups, physicals, all those kinds of things are first dollar covered. The actual cost of the policies is significantly less because they don't offer first dollar coverage. So there's no $25 doctor visit. There's no coverage for prescription drugs before the deductible. Everything goes to the deductible. That drops the cost. But you offset that by the ability to put in your HSA account. An individual can contribute $3,000. A couple can contribute $6,000. That money going in is tax deductible like an IRA or 401k contribution. So you have two opportunities here. One, you're going to lower your premium costs by going on the HSA. Two, you're going to have a tax deduction because you put money in that account and it's a tax deduction like an IRA or 401k. This is not a use it or lose it. Don't confuse it with the old cafeteria plans. That's not how it works. The money you put in there, if you put $6,000 in there and you use $1,000, $5,000 rolls over to the next year. So that money is your money. It doesn't belong to the insurance company. It belongs to you. The money coming out is tax-free. So now you use that money to go buy a prescription. You use that money to have an MRI or a CAT scan. That money coming out is tax-free. You roll over each year. By the time you're 65, if you start this when you're 50, you may have $30,000 or $40,000 sitting in that account. I had a client recently had $37,000 in his account. We bought with tax-free dollars a paid-up long-term care policy because we could use the premiums for that. We could use the savings for that. The money was in the account. We were able to buy him a paid-up long-term care policy with those dollars. So there are a lot of things you can do with that money that you can't do with health insurance, like pay for dental, if you need chiropractic, if you need therapy of one kind or another. There are a lot of different things you can do with those dollars that you can't necessarily do with the health insurance policy. So there's some real benefits there. It's not right for everybody, but again, for folks that are 50 and above, I highly recommend that you take a look at an HSA. It'll lower your cost. It'll make a lot of sense. And you'll find that by putting money in that account, by the time you turn 65, when you have to cut it off, You then can take that money to pay your Medicare Advantage plan, your Medicare Supplement plan, pay any ancillary benefits you buy that are ancillary to Medicare. So there's some opportunities there that you should look at and take advantage of. How do you buy an individual health insurance policy? Well, you can go online. That'd be a big mistake because you don't know what you're buying, number one. Number two, the companies that sell this stuff online, like eHealth Insurance, don't tell you what the underwriting conditions are. So you don't know if because you've got asthma, you're going to be turned down. You know how you find out? When they reject you. Now you go to apply for another carrier, and what's one of the questions on the application? Have I ever been rejected? Now you get to say yes. If you use an independent insurance broker, the broker can pre-screen your medical conditions and tell you, yes, you're going to qualify, no, you're not going to qualify. We've got the quotes back from Aetna, we got the quotes back from Coventry PHS, we got the quotes back from Assurant, and we can tell you this is what the quote is, this is what you're going to pay when you go through underwriting because we already have all your medical conditions. So don't go online and try to buy a health insurance policy. It's a big mistake. So that's a little bit about individual policies and how they work. If you're an employer and you're looking at group health insurance, let's go back to Obamacare for a minute. I strongly suggest and I urge you to get something in place you can live with between now and 2014 and after 2014. This isn't going to get any cheaper. It's only going to become more and more expensive. And when we dump 46 million people into this system that are currently uninsured, you watch what happens to the price of health insurance. Remember what I said. When the mandate dials in 2014, there's no longer adverse selection. Health insurance companies have to accept everybody across the page. So what that's going to do is going to drive up the cost because people have been sitting on the sidelines or they've been on state pool plans. They're going to come off those plans and they're going to go on these health insurance plans that are going to be subsidized by the federal government and paid for by you. That's the way it's going to work. So the smartest thing you can do is get your health insurance policy in place. If you're an employer, I urge you, the biggest mistakes employers make, one of the biggest mistakes they make, is they don't shop the market. You know, I'll get a call from somebody anywhere in the country, and I'll say, well, how long have you been on that policy? Well, I've been on it for 11 years. I've been on it for 6 years. I threw it in the bottom left-hand drawer. I get an increase every year, and that's when I hear from my broker. That's not how it works. You shop for everything. If you buy anything in here, you've probably shopped it to look at it on 2 or 3 other places. Health insurance works the same way. Get an independent broker. I'm an independent broker. Get an independent broker. Shop your policy. No two carriers write health insurance the same way. What do I mean by that? You've got 10 people that work for you. 2 of them have asthma. 1 of them has another medical condition. Maybe they smoke, whatever the case may be. Aetna is going to look at that and underwrite it one way. Blue Cross is going to write it another way, and Assurant is going to write it another way, and Coventry is going to write it a 4th way. So what happens when you submit applications and an independent broker goes out and gets you carrier analysis done by the various carriers, you may be looking at a $1,000 deductible across the board from 4 carriers, but the price difference could be 30 to 40%. That's because their medical underwriting is different. And if a carrier is closing out a book of business and not taking more people on that plan or wanting to restrict the number of people they're going to take, they're going to make it more difficult. The underwriting requirements get a little tighter. So what happens is if you shop the market and you do it right with an independent broker that gets medically certified quotes back from the carriers, then you see the real disparity in the market and you can take advantage of what's out there. But you have to shop the market. That's the single biggest piece of advice I can give any small employer, any large employer. You have to shop the market. That's the single most important thing you can do. Using an independent broker is the best way to do that because there is a lot of competition out there right now. There's a lot of competition between Blue Cross of Kansas, Coventry PHS, Humana, Assurant, Aetna. And why are they doing that? Because they know in 2014 they're going to be required to take all these people on their policies that aren't on there now. So they're trying to build their book of business as big as they can build it before they get slapped in 2014 with all these new people coming on these plans that are not medically underwritten anymore. So those are the things that you need to do. Those are the things that I can recommend to you that make the most sense. And I urge you to look at your health insurance policy. And when was the last time you shopped it? When was the last time you looked at it? Whether it's individual or whether it's group, that's what needs to happen if you're going to get a policy in place that's going to carry you through 2014, and a policy that's going to give you what fits your budget and fits your needs. There is something out there that'll work, but you've got to find out what it is. My booth is right next to these lovely ladies selling salsa over here. By the way, they've got great salsa. If you want to come by and talk to me about health insurance, whether it's individual or group, please feel free to do so. I'll be happy to answer any of your questions and talk to you about any size group or individual if you're looking for health insurance. Thank you very much.